Welcome to Switzerland. Did you know that our country is not just a great place to visit, but also your first-class business location? We are centrally located in Europe and we have the world's best infrastructure. Oh, and the train is always on time, so let's take a journey. Did you know that Switzerland has 4 official languages? Ja? No? Forse? Welche dia? Don't worry, we also have excellent English skills. However, we don't spend all day chatting. We love to work. In 2012, we could have voted for longer holidays, and we voted against them. It's crazy, isn't it? But we're not crazy. Our economy and government are among the world's most stable. That, combined with our outstanding talent pool and a deregulated labor market, makes Switzerland the most innovative and competitive nation in the world. Our Swiss dual education system provides an excellent mix of both vocational education and apprenticeships. Now let's take a look at industry. Maybe Germany, the United States, and China are well known for their industrial output. But did you know that Swiss industrial production per capita beats all of them? Sorry, guys. Our country is small, but hey, 3 Swiss companies are among the global top 20 most valuable companies. Furthermore, we offer the best quality of life. That's why 3 Swiss cities are among the world's best for the highest quality of living. In addition, Switzerland is one of the happiest nations on the globe. Perhaps because we eat on average 12 kilograms of chocolate per year? Switzerland is the best location for innovation, has stable political, economic, and financial conditions, has the highest living standard, and welcomes your business. So tell us now, when will you invest in Switzerland? Switzerland Global Enterprise, enabling new business. Find out more at s-ge.com.
For us in the Aditya Birla Group, Odisha has been one of our most preferred investment destinations. Chief Minister Shri Naveen Patnaik's exceptional leadership has been the singular factor in the rapid progress of Odisha. The state government has leveraged its competitive advantages, including its progressive policies and governance framework, are a big pull factor.
I welcome you to Odisha. Come, join the juggernaut.
In healthcare, a vast ecosystem is helping therapy innovators become more patient-centric and more effective than ever before. Cytiva supports researchers, biopharma, and clinicians in the pursuit of more targeted treatments. In discovery, speed and accuracy are everything. The faster and smarter researchers can work, the more patients benefit. To ensure that new, more targeted therapies become reality, we're equipping biomanufacturers with the tools and expertise they need to produce cost-effectively and quickly. How can tens of thousands of individualized patient doses be manufactured quickly, efficiently, and securely? The answer, with a healthy dose of expertise and innovation. We're creating processes and solutions that are scalable and address complex needs. We work to deliver diagnostic tools and other technologies to bring the right therapy to the right patient at the right time, so that life-saving medicines come within the reach of more people and could save more lives. Cell culture, protein purification, biomarker imaging, and analysis. It may not be what most think about when envisioning the future of healthcare, but this is what we do. Our part in changing the world. Advancing and accelerating. Discovery, manufacturing, diagnostics, future therapeutics.
road to regulatory compliance is long and filled with choices. With a combination of standards, process, and service, USP can help guide your path to compliant, quality products. Trust the standard that sets the benchmark for medicines. Our robust and collaborative scientific process is part of our comprehensive approach. We offer reference standards that are tied to USP monographs to help you minimize risk and enhance your confidence in compliance. Reduce time and resources spent developing in-house standards and streamline your path to regulatory compliance. We work with independent, volunteer scientific experts who rigorously review and approve our standards, which undergo testing by USP and other laboratories around the world. Ongoing testing of our standards helps ensure the quality of your product over time, and only USP reference standards are linked to official USP NF monographs that provide specifications for the identity, purity, and potency to meet FDA requirements without further in-house qualification and the needs of our global customers. With USP, you have access to our in-house scientific experts to guide you every step of the way. In addition to our best-in-class USP reference standards, we offer training, education, and other services. Our online resources help smooth your path to regulatory compliance. Our standards provide precise testing and validation guidelines, as well as reference samples for testing. Drugs can be made consistently every time. We are more than reference standards. We provide a unique combination of standards, process, and service. From buying to applying standards, we support your bottom line with reference standards that have been rated best in class by our customers. Talk with us to find out how we can help you navigate your journey to regulatory compliance. Contact USP at usp.org.
Department of Biotechnology, Ministry of Science and Technology, Government of India and its public sector undertaking Biotechnology Industry Research Assistance Council, BIRAC, are organizing the second edition of Global Bio India from 1st to 3rd March 2021 on digital platform. The first edition in 2019 at AeroCity, New Delhi was a huge success with participation from over 25 plus countries, 190 exhibitors, 2,500 plus delegates, 300 plus startups, 50 plus incubators, 60 plus research institutes, 800 plus business meetings scheduling and representation from 9 states. India offers a unique destination as innovation hub and biomanufacturing hub for the world. Large talent pool, growing capacities for frugal innovation and manufacturing of affordable, globally competent products and technologies in healthcare, agriculture and allied area, food and nutrition, waste to value, sanitation and clean energy solutions. biotechnology sector is recognized as the sunrise sector that would have multiplier cascading impact on achieving India's USD 5 trillion economy target by 2024. Government of India initiatives reiterates the significance of biotechnology sector as the sunshine sector. Global Bio India 2021, the largest bio event, would showcase India's biotech sector strength and opportunities at global level. Global Bio India 2021 is expected to draw around 5,000 plus delegates from across the globe. Department of Biotechnology, BIRAC, along with its autonomous institutes, has been at the forefront in the nation's fight against COVID-19. The tableau, India Fights COVID, by Department of Biotechnology, Ministry of Science and Technology, showcasing significant contribution of biotechnology sector in the development of vaccine, under Make in India mission, India is now gearing up to become innovation hub and biomanufacturing hub for India and for the world. This happens to be the most exciting time to host Global Bio India 2021, India's largest biotech event. Led by DBT and BIRAC in partnership with CII, ABLE and Invest India. Together, we can transform billions of lives worldwide. Join us on the biotech journey. Global Bio India 2021. Jai Hind.
Did you know that our country is not just a great place to visit, but also your first-class business location? We are centrally located in Europe, and we have the world's best infrastructure. Oh, and the train is always on time, so let's take a journey. Did you know that Switzerland has 4 official languages? Yeah? No? Forse? Decidia? Don't worry, we also have excellent English skills. However, we don't spend all day chatting. We love to work. In 2012, we could have voted for longer holidays, and we voted against them. It's crazy, isn't it? But we're not crazy. Our economy and government are among the world's most stable. That, combined with our outstanding talent pool and a deregulated labor market, makes Switzerland the most innovative and competitive nation in the world. Our Swiss dual education system provides an excellent mix of both vocational education and apprenticeships. Now let's take a look at industry. Maybe Germany, the United States, and China are well known for their industrial output. But did you know that Swiss industrial production per capita beats all of them? Sorry, guys. Our country is small, but hey, 3 Swiss companies are among the global top 20 most valuable companies. Furthermore, we offer the best quality of life. That's why 3 Swiss cities are among the world's best for the highest quality of living. In addition, Switzerland is one of the happiest nations on the globe. Perhaps because we eat on average 12 kilograms of chocolate per year? Switzerland is the best location for innovation, has stable political, economic, and financial conditions, has the highest living standard, and welcomes your business. So tell us now, when will you invest in Switzerland? Switzerland Global Enterprise, enabling new business. Find out more at s-ge.com.
For us in the Aditya Birla Group, Odisha has been one of our most preferred investment destinations. Chief Minister Shri Naveen Patnaik's exceptional leadership has been the singular factor in the rapid progress of Odisha. The state government has leveraged its competitive advantages, including its progressive policies and governance framework, are a big pull factor.
I welcome you to Odisha. Come, join the juggernaut.
In healthcare, a vast ecosystem is helping therapy innovators become more patient-centric and more effective than ever before. Cytiva supports researchers, biopharma, and clinicians in the pursuit of more targeted treatments. In discovery, speed and accuracy are everything. The faster and smarter researchers can work, the more patients benefit. To ensure that new, more targeted therapies become reality, we're equipping biomanufacturers with the tools and expertise they need to produce cost-effectively and quickly. How can tens of thousands of individualized patient doses be manufactured quickly, efficiently, and securely? The answer, with a healthy dose of expertise and innovation. We're creating processes and solutions that are scalable and address complex needs. We work to deliver diagnostic tools and other technologies to bring the right therapy to the right patient at the right time, so that life-saving medicines come within the reach of more people and could save more lives. Cell culture, protein purification, biomarker imaging, and analysis. It may not be what most think about when envisioning the future of healthcare, but this is what we do. Our part in changing the world. Advancing and accelerating. Discovery, manufacturing, diagnostics, future therapeutics.
to regulatory compliance is long and filled with choices. With a combination of standards, process, and service, USP can help guide your path to compliant, quality products. Trust the standard that sets the benchmark for medicines. Our robust and collaborative scientific process is part of our comprehensive approach. We offer reference standards that are tied to USP monographs to help you minimize risk and enhance your confidence in compliance. Reduce time and resources spent developing in-house standards and streamline your path to regulatory compliance. We work with independent, volunteer scientific experts who rigorously review and approve our standards, which undergo testing by USP and other laboratories around the world. Ongoing testing of our standards helps ensure the quality of your product over time, and only USP reference standards are linked to official USP NF monographs that provide specifications for the identity, purity, and potency to meet FDA requirements without further in-house qualification and the needs of our global customers. With USP, you have access to our in-house scientific experts to guide you every step of the way. In addition to our best-in-class USP reference standards, we offer training, education, and other services. Our online resources help smooth your path to regulatory compliance. Our standards provide precise testing and validation guidelines, as well as reference samples for testing. Drugs can be made consistently every time. We are more than reference standards. We provide a unique combination of standards, process, and service. From buying to applying standards, we support your bottom line with reference standards that have been rated best in class by our customers. Talk with us to find out how we can help you navigate your journey to regulatory compliance. Contact USP at usp.org.
Welcome to Switzerland. Did you know that our country is not just a great place to visit, but also your first-class business location? We are centrally located.
Department of Biotechnology, Ministry of Science and Technology.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you. We are
Okay, good.
Hi, Kate. Good evening.
Good evening and good morning.
Good evening and good morning.
Chitra, do you want to give it a minute or two more, or should we begin?
Just Dr. Alka has requested his team call for Somani.
Okay.
As early as possible, so 1 minute possibly, and then we can.
Sure. Thank you.
Can you see my slides?
Not yet. Still on the.
Dr. Swami is joining. Dr. Jyoti has spoken to him. He's joining few minutes. Maybe if you want, we can start in the meantime.
Can you see my slides? I just wanted to
Yes.
confirm.
Yes, we can see your slides now.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
So I'll request Nivedita to welcome and start the discussion.
Well, thank you, Chitra. And good evening, good morning to all of you. On behalf of the US-India Strategic Partnership Forum, I'm really delighted to welcome you for our session, which is on day 3 of Global Bio 2021. The session is aptly titled Learnings from the Pandemic and the Future of US-India Collaboration in Biopharmaceuticals. We've structured the discussion in a way where we can discuss and focus on the opportunities for collaboration between both countries in this important area. As all of you know, the biopharmaceutical industry has really been at the forefront of the global fight against COVID. And now every layman knows terms like plasma antibodies and vaccines. So with that backdrop, I think we're at a very opportune moment to take advantage of, there are not many good things that have come out of COVID, but I think this opportunity that it has brought forward is really one we need to build on. Let me also congratulate the Department of Biotech and the government for the tremendous success of the Global Bio event. I believe there's been over 5,000 participants in the different sessions. Really, again, goes to the point that demonstrates the potential of biotechnology and India in this important dialogue. I want a candid conversation today, and therefore we've kept the group small, limited it to a number of US companies who are leaders in this space. We have a number of innovator companies who are on the call, and most of them are in the space of vaccines, biologicals, advanced therapies like cell and gene therapies. Honor and privilege to the industry colleagues on the phone, and a special warm welcome to the government. I know Dr. V.G. Somani, Drug Controller General, will be joining us shortly. Dr. Alka Sharma, Scientist G from DBT, warm welcome to you. We also have Dr. Jyoti Malik Logani, Scientist E from DBT, Dr. Srishendu Mukherjee, Mission Director PMU at BIRAC, and Dr. Manish Devan, the Head of Strategic Partnerships and Entrepreneurship Development at BIRAC. So with that, let me first begin by inviting Dr. Alka Sharma to make her opening remarks. Dr. Sharma.
Thank you, Nivedita, very much for providing the background of this session. So, Dr. Somani will join us soon. Start this, and I have a short presentation to.
Ma'am, you are not audible clearly. Maybe just commute.
I think you need to just increase your volume, ma'am.
Now it is okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yeah, I removed my earphone. So, okay. So what I was saying, thank you, Nivedita, for providing the background of this session. And it is my pleasure to be a part of this session since Dr. Somani is going to join us soon. I will provide you the efforts being made by DBT and its PSU BIRAC. And I'll just share my presentation. It's very short, but it will give you an overview. So I hope you are able to see my slides.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, good. So as you know that the COVID-19 was declared a public health emergency of international concern in January 2020 and a pandemic by the WHO in March 2020. The COVID-19 has been a global challenge. The availability of safe and efficacious vaccines for COVID-19, diagnostic kits for early detection and therapeutics are crucial in effective management of pandemic. So accordingly, the Department of Biotechnology along with its PSU BIRAC has made consolidated efforts for development of detection, treatment and prevention tools. In order to facilitate development of vaccine, diagnostics and drugs for COVID-19, DBT along with DCGI has developed a rapid response regulatory framework to provide expedited regulatory processes. So for development of various diagnostic kits, more than 30 projects have been implemented. The support has also been extended to development of raw materials such as fluorescent probes, primers, material transport medium, swab, and nucleic acid extraction kits. So far, a large number of diagnostic kits, material transport medium, RNA extraction kits have been produced with the support from DBT and Biotech. Similarly, for development of novel therapeutics, repurposed drugs, plasma therapy, and monoclonal antibodies as treatment strategies for COVID-19, 11 projects have been implemented so far. Under the vaccine portfolio of COVID-19 consortium, a large number of projects have been implemented both at industry and academia. Different vaccine development strategies are being employed. They are DNA-based, mRNA-based, protein subunit, repurposed vaccine, and so on. Some of the candidates supported under the consortium have progressed further into phase 3 clinical trials. Along with product development of an animal model-based vaccine evaluation platform, device for vaccine delivery, and reagents are also being supported. Mission COVID Suraksha has been implemented as an Indian COVID-19 vaccine development mission for supporting clinical development of Indian COVID-19 vaccine. The focus is on development of vaccine candidates, enhancement of capacity to support COVID-19 vaccine development, and enhancing capacity for conduct of human clinical trials. Under this mission, so far 25 projects have been recommended for support. DBT along with Biotech is supporting vaccine development and manufacturing activity through both national and international efforts. Among the various vaccine candidates being supported, the following I would like to share with you some of the vaccine candidates which are being supported by DBT and Biotech with US partners. So you can see the list here. The Bharat Biotech is working with Thomas Jefferson University, where the platform used is rabies vector. Similarly, you can see others such as Biological E Limited and MIT with RBD based subunit vaccine as platform, and then Genova Biopharmaceuticals and HTT Biotech Corporation with mRNA vaccine, and again Bharat Biotech with Washington University. The pandemic has also shown how quickly the scientific community came together, whether it's academia, startups, or large pharmaceuticals industries, and joined hands to fight against the pandemic. The collaborations in science and technology and innovation have resulted in rapidly bringing solutions to the market. Enabling regulatory guidelines have also been issued to facilitate expedited vaccine development to address the pandemic. So DBT and Biotech, now we are looking forward to such successful sharing of knowledge and technologies between India and USA with a common vision to fight the current pandemic and prepare for the future ones. So I would stop here and look forward to have valuable recommendations from this session. Thank you and over.
Thank you for that presentation. First, let me ask if there are any questions specifically for the presentation which anyone would like to pose. The floor is open. Please let me know if you'd like to speak. Okay, hearing no questions specifically, first let me invite Dr. Please go ahead, Dr. Sharma.
Dr. Sharma, what is the plan for the launch of some of the other products that you mentioned from the vaccine?
I have Dr. Somani here. So Dr. Somani has joined.
So you showed some other technologies which were there. So what is the plan for launching some of these products?
Sorry, can you repeat your question? There were a lot of disturbance, so I could not hear it properly.
In one of your slides towards the end, you had shown the different technologies that were being evaluated for launching new vaccine candidates. So is there any timeline that we have as to when those vaccines could be launched in the country? For example, the mRNA technology and the rabies vector. You're on mute.
You're on mute.
Oh, sorry. I'm really sorry. So, yes, so what I have listed, especially with the collaborations which we have with the US, our companies, they have partnership with US universities and industries. So your question is whether when they will come, when these vaccines can be launched in the market. So they are at various stages of clinical studies. Some of them have entered in phase 2 and some of them are in phase 3. So they are now submitting their data to the regulator. We have Dr. Somani here and he is the best person to answer this question, but the data is being submitted to the regulators to evaluate and analyze, and depending on the analysis of data, the decision will be taken. So yeah, they all are now working really hard to bring these vaccines to the market.
And warm welcome, Dr. Somani. Thank you for joining us. I know it's been a busy 3 days, so we're delighted that you're still going strong. Over to you for your opening remarks, and then we'll request industry to comment.
Thank you, organizers, for calling me for this very important session of learning for pandemic for future collaboration. I can share our experiences that we have learned how to tackle this pandemic with regards to providing the diagnostic, therapeutic, or immunological or any kind of supportive solutions in a rapid manner, while not losing the sight of the necessary safety, efficacy, performance, or effectiveness which is required, either it is from diagnostics or it is from vaccines. We had to increase our efforts and utilize the adaptive design model for the trials, and also work hand in hand with many regulators across the world and also internally, so that this particular pandemic situations could be handled in a very systematic manner. And fortunately, we got cooperation from everybody. That's why we could come out with early solutions whenever we had to approve. The story started with in the beginning of the March. We never had a single diagnostic kit in our country, and neither imported one nor the manufactured one. Now today we have more than 300 diagnostic kits in various categories, and simultaneously when it comes to plasma, remdesivir, or even the vaccines, the same model was adopted, and doing all the due diligence, these particular products were made available for the community, not only for the Indian community, also for the global community. And the experience has been extremely good. Use of digital technology, reliance on each other, and using the collaborative and adaptive design approach. That has been the learning, and we want to build on this and continue this particular thing. This has brought everybody so closer. Decision making has become very effective, and you get more confidence when you have many people supporting the same cause and supporting your views also. Of course, we had to work in double shift, sometimes in the 3 shifts also. That was the thing, and we would continue that, and probably we are seeing the benefits of it. That's what I can say in the beginning. I'm sorry that I missed some of the initial comments of the speakers. And thank you from my side.
Thank you, Dr. Somani, for setting the scene for this discussion, and Dr. Sharma as well. First, let me invite Kate Beal, Associate Vice President of PHRMA Pharma of USA. Kate.
Thank you so much, Nivi. Good evening to all of my colleagues in India, and good morning to those in the United States. And thank you, everyone, for this very timely and very important discussion. I feel as though as the days move on through the pandemic, our learnings continue to evolve, and real insights are taken, but also to be shared globally. And so many of those learnings are happening in India. So thank you so much for all of your efforts. I want to just talk through 4 key components that I think are critical in this time of the COVID-19 pandemic. Certainly lessons that we've learned from previous pandemics, and key principles that from pharma and the biopharmaceutical industry that we think are critical as the disease threats continue to emerge, as we see COVID-19 continue to mutate, as we continue to see the rise of antimicrobial resistance, AMR, and other diseases and threats on the horizon. The first, of course, is what Dr. Soumani's leadership really has he and his CDSCO colleagues have been driving, is the regulatory alignment. And as he mentioned, the real learnings that have taken place in the time of COVID, but how critical regulatory harmonization is in this time of new therapeutic and vaccine development. And as clinical trials are simultaneously launched around the world, and as colleagues here, I see on the line from Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, and others have really been at the tip of the spear of taking those very risky bets and leading in the science of the creation. But the first is the regulatory harmonization, regulatory alignment, the key principles and standards that take place. So the first is regulatory alignment. And I would love to hear, Dr. Soumani, at some point in this discussion, how you see India fit into the regulatory landscape, specifically with ICH and PICS. Those are 2, we feel, very important global platforms that India has to play a key role in from a leadership perspective, but then also in terms of the global alignment. The second is pro-innovation policies. As we see these diseases continue to evolve, we as the biopharmaceutical industry and other key players have to remain at the forefront of innovation. And the underpinnings of those policies need to remain strong, and they need to remain consistent and predictable to allow all the necessary stakeholders to play a role in continuing to innovate and find new inventions. The third is the strength of health systems, from, of course, the infrastructure, from the frontline workers to hospitals, to delivery systems, to pharmacies, to the real entire ecosystem. And I think a real exciting announcement took place in India with this year's budget, the continued year commitment to healthcare, and we appreciate Prime Minister Modi's prioritization on health. But health financing models, robust and strong government procurement models that are inclusive of the spectrum of therapeutics and vaccines for the entire patient population is critical. And as we continue to see the real burden of health, how it can be crippling to economies, how it can be crippling to a family ecosystem, those investments on the front end to mitigate the health risks are critical. And then to finally round off, lessons learned, my fourth point is really partnerships. And that can take place first and foremost with everyone here on the line. Government to government, US-India partnership is critical. Of course, business to business. I see Jyotsna on the line, and we are just thrilled about the news that Johnson & Johnson and Merck have coordinated very closely to ramp up production and manufacturing. And those partnerships, co-manufacturing agreements, business to government to government is critical. as COVID-19 has reminded us that that diseases know no boundaries, they know no borders, and that we are all in this together as patients, as innovators, and as leaders. So with that, pharma, these lessons are learned from our perspective, very, very important. And we look forward to continuing to partner with all of you on behalf of Indian patients and global patients. Back to you, Nivi.
Thank you for that comprehensive overview, Kate. Dr. Somani, in the interest of time, maybe I'll take 2 more speakers and then ask you to come in and react. And we can break it up like that if you're comfortable. Okay. Mr. Tim Fenton from Thermo Fisher. Tim, go ahead.
Thank you, Nivi, and thank you to DBT and BioRack for organizing this event. Greetings to all of you. Thermo Fisher Scientific is the world leader in serving science. We've been in India proudly for more than 20 years, and today we have more than 2,000 colleagues across the country at more than 40 sites. We're serving customers who are directly responding to the pandemic. Most notably, we just announced the first made in India COVID test last week, which we are making in Bengaluru. Thermo Fisher Scientific is incredibly grateful, Dr. Somani, for your approving this diagnostic in record time. And the Serum Institute is a longtime customer. We are really proud of the work that they're doing on behalf of Indians and the whole world. And we're also serving many of the companies also represented here. Our team of 80,000 employees is so incredibly humbled to be playing such a large role in the world's response. This is frankly why our company exists. It's what we were built for, to enable our customers to make the world healthier, cleaner, and safer. 1 year into the pandemic, we've learned an immense amount from our engagement in virtually every aspect of the world's response. Some of this will actually tee off of points that Kate made. The first lesson in my mind is really the need for an incredibly strong, unshakable, and fully transparent disease outbreak surveillance system, not just for human diseases, but animal diseases, environmental quality, and food systems, all of which are so interconnected. Along these lines, it's positive to see the 2021 budget of Government of India set aside funds to establish a National Institution of One Health to look at both animal and human diseases together. Moves like this are critical. This coronavirus is only the most recent example of the spillover potential for animal diseases into humans. And unfortunately, I think it's safe to predict it will happen again in our lifetimes and in our careers. Our surveillance systems must innovate and adapt faster than a virus. We've seen this coronavirus take advantage of the slow human response to it. The so-called UK variant was clearly well entrenched in many countries before many of us even noticed it was there. Building such surveillance systems presents an immense opportunity for India and the United States to build on our biotech and healthcare partnerships. Our country ought to put in place bilateral agreements to allow imported technology from the United States to support the Indian R&D sector, and likewise export from India of finished healthcare products with low tax and non-tax barriers. Such agreements also ought to harmonize patent laws to protect and promote innovation. Such bilateral partnerships could follow the model of our country's defense partnership, which is off to a great start. The second lesson in my mind is around needing to overcome politically driven reactions to an accelerating outbreak. Nationalism and protectionism present measurable risks. It's impossible to respond to a global crisis with domestic-only solutions. Viruses export themselves very easily, so attempting to barricade the response to those viruses can be deadly. Countries, including my own, tried or considered stopping the free movement of goods early on, and with poor results. Germany briefly halted the export of PPE, and they considered limits on the movement of reagents out of the country. The US strongly considered banning exports of tests, but the reality was such export blocks would have been met with reciprocal bans elsewhere, and very few, if any, products are 100% sourced from one country. While our tests were initially made only in the United States for the world, the inputs for them were sourced from all over the globe. So limits on movement would have been completely counterproductive to the intended goal. Lesson 3 is around the cure, and this is where, so much credit to all of you. The biotech industry has shown it can go incredibly fast when it counts. Testing, vaccines, and supply chains have scaled faster than I think any of us ever could have predicted, and we're all the better for it. We've seen the first mRNA vaccines to market in under a year, and regulators have reviewed and approved them. Countries like India and the US can ensure that our biotech industries are competing well by encouraging domestic R&D with tax credits and other incentives that drive activities at the highest end of the value chain. I'm thinking here of a chance to extend Made in India to developed in India and Made in India. Which brings me to my final point, which is our obligations that we as global citizens have to each other. Developed countries have a moral imperative to ensure that low and middle income countries can respond, test, treat, and vaccinate themselves. India reflected this moral commitment by extending vaccine doses to its neighbors, which is an incredibly commendable move. Also, we must partner with the low and middle income countries to build local capacity so that they are not reliant on others when a crisis hits. The private sector has an invaluable role to play here. And this really comes full circle to lesson 1 around surveillance systems. It feels far too soon to talk about how to prepare for the next pandemic. But if we don't, we're doing a disservice to those who will need to deal with that. And my hunch is it's actually us who will face another pandemic in our lifetime. Thank you very much. I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity to speak to the group. And I look forward to the end of this global crisis so I can get back to India and see all of you in person. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Let me now call on Sharad Goswami of Pfizer. Sharad.
Thanks, Nivi, and thanks to DBT also for this wonderful session. And Dr. Somani just messaged saying he's out for some time, but I did want to speak about, the way that the CDSCO has partnered. The theme is lessons that we have learned or we are learning. I think there are 3. To me, the first really, and I know speakers have spoken about it earlier, is collaboration. Not just in the vaccines and therapeutics, but even, when the COVID crisis hit us, we experienced a government to industry collaboration and interaction like we have never experienced before. Whether it is the Department of Pharmaceuticals, whether it is the DBT. I wanted to talk to Dr. Somani and recognize the CDSCO for, just the way in which a lot of processes got simplified so quickly. We moved to e-submission processes virtually overnight. We were able to counter the shelf life challenges because goods were getting stuck at various places. Even the guidance towards doorstep delivery of medicines. All of these were examples of, the CDSCO moving very fast, responding to the crisis at hand. And the experience that we've had as an industry, not just Pfizer, but all of us, is that, when the situation was dire, we have an ability to work together very closely, very fast with the patient at the center and get the right things done. I think that's a very valuable lesson that we must take forward as we work together in the future. Dr. Somani, I'm glad you're back. I was talking about just the wonderful experience that we've seen with you and your department working as hard as you did. I know 3 a.m. was par for the course, so do want to thank you for all of that. The second lesson to me really is innovation. Clearly, innovation is the name of the game. And innovation flows. We've seen, a lab in Germany, a big biopharmaceutical company in the US, and then countries across the world just coming together. You sometimes don't even realize where the innovation was created, where was it matured, where was it manufactured, and where was it deployed. Literally, the world was one family. And across our companies, we've seen that happen. So I think to me, the imperative in front of us is how do we remove any obstacle today that may be slowing down this flow of global innovation? And what can we do to make sure, that innovation can travel as fast as it possibly can and as fast as science can allow for it to benefit patients? Because clearly we've seen during COVID, patients cannot wait. They need these therapies today. the sooner we can bring them in, the more lives we are going to be able to save. I know Kate spoke about ICH and PICS. Clearly, that should be a way forward. Let us rely on each other. Let us rely on processes that are happening simultaneously across the world and make sure that we are taking advantage of those processes that are already being completed so that the patient doesn't need to wait. In the same vein, and Dr. Somani knows this, and we are very grateful for his support. The Rule 101, for example. It simply awaits that list of countries which then India would kind of rely on the regulatory systems of. And once we have that in place, we are able to then bring these innovations so much faster for the patients who are waiting for some of these innovations here in India. So to me, that second theme of innovation flowing seamlessly across the world, a vaccine made in India deployed in South America, a vaccine made in the UK being deployed in India. This really is the name of the game, and anything that any one of us can do to remove those obstacles and make this faster, that's the service we will be doing to patients across the world. The third theme to me is just immunization, and this is something that I'm speaking about in every forum. This concept of adult immunization, I think, has taken root. Yes, it took COVID-19 for us to kind of become familiar with this. But today in India, as well as across the world, just this concept that grown-ups, people like all of us on this screen, could also be rolling up our sleeves, could also be going to a doctor, could also be saying, hey, are there any vaccines that I need to take to prevent diseases which are life-threatening? To me, the awareness is now in place. To me, the infrastructure clearly is now in place, and India is mounting one of the biggest immunization responses in the world. To me, the vaccines are in place. Whether we are talking about pneumonia, which is very close to our heart, pneumococcal, but then also HPV and hepatitis and influenza. I think we have the tools already to tackle some of these very dangerous diseases that are, life-threatening and can be prevented. So how do we build on this momentum? How do we take advantage of this heightened awareness about this infrastructure that's now ready to start immunizing comorbid adults, for example, and then not just stop at COVID-19, but then also say, what next? And ride this momentum and make sure that we are taking adult immunization forward as a core part of our public health strategy. So to me, these really are the three key learnings: collaboration. Let's make sure that we continue to work in this wonderful way that we have. Innovation, remove all these hurdles so that innovation can flow as fast as science can allow for it to. And then lastly, adult immunization, take advantage of what we have now created and start, protecting our citizens from diseases which can very easily be prevented today. Those to me are the three.
Thank you, Sharad. Let me just invite one more speaker, Dr. Somani, before I turn it back to you and Dr. Sharma. Shekhar from Covance.
Hi, thank you. And I would like to start by saying that, first of all, thank you to USITF, BioIndia, CDSC, and DBT for the opportunity to attend and present our views. I represent a contract research organization, Covance by LabCorp, with more than 5,000 employees in India. Overall, we are very optimistic with the steps taken by the regulatory agency for streamlining the approval process and also the subsequent compliance activities during study conduct, even during this difficult pandemic period. We are also specifically thankful for the recent shift of SAE reporting to Sugam portal and sincerely appreciate the simplification of the overall approval process. Now, coming from a contract research organization, I would be more operational, and I would like to say that as we slowly start to come out of the pandemic, we are seeing significant interest in collaboration and conducting global pivotal research studies in India, especially from emerging biotech organizations. So we would like to just highlight some areas where we require your support. First is that, during the pandemic, we realized that especially for biotech clients who are coming to us, we don't have a single source of information for incidence and prevalent rates of various diseases in India, especially in the therapeutic areas and indications which are of interest to biotech organizations. So we have to reference various sources which are really not up to date, and then planning for clinical trial conducts becomes difficult due to this. So we would be very grateful if we could think of some sort of a collaboration, government-private collaboration, to develop a single source of information to collect this data on an ongoing basis, which would help us plan better trial placement in the country. And then the same is true for information on approved drugs by the S&D division, because we need current understanding of standard of care status, and that's critical while determining placement of pivotal studies in the country. So we would really love to have a more user-friendly database where we can easily access the details of products approved with indication and all the other details. And this is pivotal for us as a contract research organization to go ahead and get more research work placed in the country. And I think these measures will surely help us assure our biotech clients and plan for better trial placement in India. Once again, thank you to Dr. Somani and Dr. Alka for the opportunity to present our views. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Somani, Dr. Sharma, would you like to take some of these issues first, and then I can invite a few more speakers after that?
Dr. Somani, please go ahead.
Thank you, Kate, and thank you, Sharath, and thank you, Shekhar, for exactly pinpointing the issues where exactly we want to go ahead. See, this is, as Sharath said, basically any new therapeutic options which is available anywhere, that should be available to whether it is Indian or a global community as early as possible. And we need to build the system, whether it is a regulatory system or whether it is a supportive system or an insurance system or a distribution system, whatever you are talking about, the system in such a manner that it fulfills that particular aspect, that nobody should be denied of the early access to the new therapeutic options which can solve the problem which are not solved earlier. So that is our basic philosophy on which we are talking. Then comes, and that inter alia means that it has to respect the innovations wherever it is coming from. Of course, it is always a wish that innovation should build in India, and also innovation which are coming from outside, they should also grow in India. So this is the philosophy on which we are working, so that there is an actual convergence of our philosophically thinking process. There is no trust deficit in each other. That is very important. Now, first is this part. Second part is when it comes to the assessment of quality, safety, effectiveness, performance, and all those things. For that, already there are certain convergence platform. Just 2 minutes back, we had in this BioAsia itself a forum for the regulatory convergence, and we are very active with regards to becoming a member of ICH, and we are a part. We have attended. India was observer since 2016, and now we are since then continuously attending the assembly meeting. We are a part of also. Are you able to listen to me? No? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
It's not very clear. If you could maybe move the mic a little closer.
Sorry. So basically, we are also, I don't know what I can do with mic, but I will raise my voice.
Thank you, sir.
Being we are already in a very nice cooperation with various regulatory authorities, and we are moving towards becoming a member of ICH, for which we have also We are trying to hire the consultants who can do the gap analysis and training of our system so that there is a kind of a comfort level amongst the people. Though we may be actually harmonizing in our practices, but when that particular thing happens formally, it gives the confidence to the people. And also, we are becoming a pre-applicant for the PICS. That process is also ongoing, and already we are a member of IMDRF, that is for the medical devices. We are the members of ICMRA, International Coalition of Regulatory Authorities, and also we are in working in close collaboration with the WHO, and already we are a functional regulatory authority as far as vaccines are concerned, based on the assessment on the global benchmarking tool, and we are also going to become the. They have now WHO is coming out with a tool which they call as a WHO listed authorities, and we are actually partnering in that. And I can just so our collaboration efforts for convergence, while putting our exact philosophy across, is going on very well. And for that matter, I can share with you. For last 3 years, I am the chairman of Member State Mechanism World Health Organization, where all these 194 regulators come for last 3 years, which is a member state mechanism to handle the substandard and falsified medicine. And I was co-chair for preceding 3 years. So since last 6 years, I have an opportunity, India has an opportunity to interact with all these people and go ahead. So making the policy where the innovation are respected. The ecosystem innovation means my innovation or your innovation. That if we have that approach, then there is a little bit of problem. If innovation has a capability to serve the unmet need or the need of the patient, then it has to be respected, and that is in that manner we are working. And for that, of course, the collaboration and memberships are also important, for which we are working. With regards to Shekhar's point, to identify the proper sites and also to have a proper database, we are ready to work, because already we have certain database on our website. And if there are, and all the database what he is asking is there, if there is something missing, we can work together to make it more transparent or make it more user friendly, so that we can work in that direction. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sharma. Would you like to add any comment right now?
I think Dr. Somani has covered all the points, so we can go ahead from here.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Next, let me call on Dr. Manjunath for his comments or questions. Dr. Manjunath.
Hi, so good evening, everyone, and good morning, everyone in the US. And thank you so much for having me at this on this panel. So I represent Bristol Myers Squibb in India, and we work in collaboration with Biocon in Bangalore, and we have an R&D center here called Biocon BMS R&D Center, or BBRC. We are probably one of the few R&D centers who are involved in novel drug discovery, working very closely with the US organization. So I'm not going to repeat everything that has been said. And so I'm going to talk mostly in general in terms of how do we build novel drug discovery capabilities in India, and what advantages that has. In fact, one of the things that clearly was evident following the pandemic was many sites, many US sites were all closed because of pandemic, but our site was open barring only 3 weeks of closure. So what it meant was we were able to support global R&D efforts from India on multiple programs. So this was a major advantage of having some centers like this outside of the United States or outside of any other country, so that it can actually fill in very quickly to enable the pipeline that we all are working for. So that was a major advantage, and in fact, it happened across the board, whether reagent generation to program deliverables, we're taking molecules into development and so on. So my take on this whole scenario here is, I think instead of firefighting all the time, which we may not be able to firefight, we have to, I think both from the industries from US and industries from India should try to find ways to have strategic partnership, something the way that we have here, where it is not easy to kind of transfer technology, transfer programs and methods all of a sudden and expect everyone to be on board and up and running within a short period of time. COVID was an exception, and maybe some of these viral vaccines will be an exception. But if you're really thinking about in a strategic manner, how do you build pharma presence in India? There is one way, which is it is mostly transactional, which is also fine. There is an opportunity there. Obviously, there's a significant opportunity there. But from the innovation perspective, from the perspective of building significant value across new targets, new drug development, innovation, I think it is important for both companies here in India, companies in the US, to make sure that there is a strategic partnership. And I think government should actually enable creation of such partnerships. The second, of course, this has significant value, as I said, for both partners here. The second is, once we started developing these molecules or discovering these molecules, we had to again ship it back to US for further development. I think this has been discussed multiple times. I don't want to bring it up again. I think there's a significant opportunity for us to take these molecules into early clinical development in India. And how do we make that happen, and why it is not happening? Part of the reason, again, I'm saying it is part of the reason, is the regulatory approvals and the time it takes and so on. What we learned from this whole pandemic is that if we are able to move some of these things so quickly and enable what we enabled for vaccine development here, I think there is it clearly shows that we are able to do that. And why should it take on a normal day multiple months and multiple years in some cases to get these things off the ground? I think we need to take a critical look at ourselves to see what else can we do, and how can we take the learnings from here into a regular pharma environment? How do we take advantage of that? The third one, I think, someone actually talked about the patient registry. I know there are patient registries. I know there are options over there. I think having a good understanding of what are we dealing with in India, not just for COVID, but in general, all the different diseases. What is the patient population looks like? What is our opportunity here? And whether it is internal research or whether it is external research, I think that kind of drives the innovation, drives the work that we do, drives the market, drives commercial operations and so on. I think having that reliable patient registry will be critical, and identifying those core diseases that are of significant value for India and Indian patients will be very important. And the fourth one is just a very tactical one. This is a challenge that we faced, so I just want to talk about it. Now, how do you scale up rapidly? Now, we said US sites are going to be closed, and Indian sites, as here we kept it open. But then we had a lot of work coming from US to India, but then we had to scale up immediately. So there are significant tactical challenges. What is the supply chain management looks like? Where are the reagents are going to be? How are we going to acquire these reagents? And how are we, that includes animal for experimentation and so on. And how do we address this? We were able to kind of somehow make it happen, but then I think we have to have a good plan in place. That means that people like Thermo Fisher, for example, or other companies which are reagent providers, I think they need to stock it up in India so that there is no delay in terms of some of the key reagents that we need. Of course, that requires partnership, that requires a lot more discussion. It is not one-sided, obviously, right? I think the companies like us also should work with companies like them, so in order to make this happen. And of course, in terms of animal research, that is a major thing that we can actually advantage that we have in terms of working on some of these things. But many of these animals are imported, so there were a lot of issues there in terms of importing some of these animals from outside and quickly, and they were stopped. They were stopped at the airports for whatever reason, and so on. Right? I think finding ways to having a system in place to take advantage of emergency situations like this and ability to scale up immediately will be critical. So I'll stop there, but I do appreciate all the other comments from other speakers today. I think they're right on the money, and I think really appreciate
that. Thank you, Dr. Manjunath. Jyotsna, would you like to add anything or make any comments?
Sure. Thank you, Nevi. And good evening, Dr. Savani. Good evening, Dr. Alka. Really good to meet you again. I don't want to be repeating, a lot of our colleagues has said a lot of things. I think for me, from Johnson & Johnson and speaking from our experience during the pandemic, the biggest lesson learned for us is that there is no country like India in a crisis. The leadership that seriously, when it comes to a crisis, I don't think any other country can respond in the way that India can. The leadership that we showed during the crisis in every area, from discovery to supply chain to approvals, Dr. Somani, to the partnerships, to the collaboration, to the way that even the budget this time has responded with the first time vaccination being mentioned. And, we've had a long time ask of budgetary support for healthcare to be increased, all of that. I think the one thing that, I would urge us to think about collectively is that how do we make those lessons learned really on a normal day? And why does it have to be a crisis? Dr. Somani is smiling, but really, why does it have to be a crisis for us to show our best? Because we have it in us as a country. We have it in us to lead the path, the Indo-US path for collaboration in these areas. And, that's what I wanted to sort of begin with. Really speaking about Johnson & Johnson, the partnerships that we saw during the pandemic, including our partnership with Biological E for manufacturing our COVID-19 vaccine in India to supply to the world, is something that we feel extremely proud of. But, just to underscore the example, the overall sort of comment I made, I wanted to only share one example from our experience, in addition to, of course, the partnership with BioE. Is that, is about the COVID testing swabs. We got a call one day from Department of Pharma. Our management got a call saying that you make earbuds, and do you think that you could innovate to change those earbuds into testing swabs for diagnostic testing kits for COVID? And, this is something we hadn't heard of, right? And quickly a team came together, a team came together from DHR, from Ministry of Textiles, from Department of Pharma, with the leadership of Ministry of Textiles. And a team was brought together, and we worked with, we said we need a really innovative, like-minded partner who has very good quality material. Reliance Industries came on board. Then a couple of MSMEs were pulled in. And actually, the entire innovation of turning that entire thought and technology into a COVID testing swab, which was delivered and manufactured with the result that millions of low-cost, high-quality, indigenously manufactured testing swabs were available in India. And this was within a time period of 10 days, by the way, which is completely unheard of, right? So just, what does this underscore? That if we want to do something, we have the will, we have the partnership, we have the technology, we have the people, and we have all of that together. If we combine our spirits together, we should be able to do it. Just that if we can take these lessons post-pandemic as well. And in closing, Dr. Somani, I won't do, and Dr. Alka, I won't do our industry right by saying that there are 3 areas that I'd like to reiterate again, which especially need focus even post-pandemic. And the first is continued budgetary support. The budget this year has been a landmark budget with the focus on healthcare. 6 pillars. The first pillar is healthcare. Focus on vaccination, prevention, and we need to continue on that. The second is, I would say, continuing the focus on innovation, really the protection around intellectual property and the focus around intellectual property. And the third, I would say, is regulatory harmonization. And within that, certain things that even my colleague from Pfizer mentioned, which is, small things like maybe Rule 101 and clarity around that. So these three areas that I'd like to mention that if we can take away. And partnerships is something that we need to continue to work on. So I'll just sum up with this.
Thanks, Jyoti. Dr. Ram Mandalam, go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So thank you, Navita, and thank you for the opportunity to talk at this panel. So my name is Ram Mandalam. I am the CEO of a company called Celeron Therapeutics, a stem cell-based therapy company in California here. I'm also associated with a company in India called Stempeutics in Bengaluru, who have led the development of cell-based therapies. So I'm going to be talking more about advanced therapies and not as much about vaccines per se, because that's what I've been asked to address as to how this industry can collaborate with India in a big way. As you know, regenerative medicine has been at the forefront in developing novel therapies, especially while addressing the root causes of diseases and disorders leading to potential cure. In the last decade, we have seen significant growth in approved cell and gene therapies addressing in key areas such as oncology and also in rare disorders, rare diseases, especially with gene therapy. The markets are expected to grow. Today, it's about $5 billion in the market share, and we expect it to grow to $33 billion in about 5 years. And about $20 billion have gone into this industry with about 1,200 clinical trials, global clinical trials that are happening. So this industry is going to continue to grow. So this rate of growth is attributed to, as was mentioned with other speakers as well, due to innovation, discovery, and success in clinical trials. However, where things have lagged behind significantly are the tools and manufacturing capabilities supporting this industry. Unlike small molecules and biologics, where the infrastructure was quickly built, and India obviously is one of the global leaders in that space, cell and gene therapies supporting the industries that support the development of this therapy has not developed as much. And so overall, besides innovation, the place where I think there's a significant opportunity for India and US to collaborate is to develop this support industry that's extremely important for these therapies to be successful. So clearly, India has demonstrated that with small molecules, with this FDA, EMA, and PMDA compliant facilities have been built. And I am confident, even though the industry is more complex, cell and gene therapy manufacturing is more complex than the small molecules. There's a tremendous skill set, entrepreneurship spirit, and talent that's there that can absolutely enable this to happen. So my request is for the Department of Biotechnology of Government of India to potentially think of starting a center of excellence in cell and gene therapy so that they become a global leader in this space and continue to collaborate with companies and the US government as well to make this as one of the key industry growth areas for the biotechnology. And in the interest of time, I'm just going to stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ram. Now let me invite Saitiva, Mr. Raghavendra. With your permission, Dr. Somani, we just have 2 more speakers and we'll request them to take 1 minute each before.
So first of all, my heartiest congratulations for the response on the Global Bio. I think it has been a success. And then thank you to all the eminent panel members for inviting me and as a company representative. I would just want to highlight a few of the stories around, one is the success, the other one is, the struggle. So, all the eminent panel members have mentioned about, the innovation, the vaccines and, the biotherapeutics and, everything around the vaccines. As a Cytivian or the GM who takes care of the Cytiva for India and South Asia, we have been partnering with all the vaccine manufacturers, and we are extremely proud to say that every vaccine that goes out, we have been a part of it in the sense like we have been the primary raw material suppliers, whether it is in terms of an upstream media or in terms of a downstream resins. Unfortunately, the biggest struggle that we foresee today, we've heard Jyotsna talking about the biologically one partnership or the Pfizer partnership or the serum vaccines. The biggest hurdle that we foresee today is the implementation, a strict implementation of the BPAS in US. which actually ties our hands not to open up our supplies to the other countries outside US. That's the biggest fundamental struggle that we're facing. It will be a great help if Dr. Somani can have this dialogue where can help us in ensuring that some of these DPAS rules can be they can be relaxed for some of the companies like in India, which are actually the global vaccine supplier. So that is a struggle that we are facing. On the success side, I would just want to highlight the recent MOU that we have signed with the government of Telangana. This was announced in BioAsia, where some of the points that have been mentioned by the eminent panel members on a struggle from a startup to scale up is being addressed. So we have actually signed up an MOU, and we will be establishing a technology center where it will be a 200-liter bioreactor mammalian cell culture facility where a scientist who's discovered his molecule in India, a novel biologics or a biosimilar, he can actually move into this lab and produce a material, and it is a GMP-like material where he can actually go back for the further approvals, or he can actually put this proposal across for the further investments. So this is something that we have been, this is an outcome of the pandemic where we have seen that there is a lot of innovation, there is a lot of startups coming up, but unfortunately the struggle starts after they actually identify a novel molecule or after they discover something new. That's the where the struggle comes in. So that's where we thought it's a great space to work on, and this is exclusively with partnership with Telangana government, where we encourage all the companies, the startups, mid-sized companies, to come and utilize this facility, where we will have our know-how, the global knowledge that we have accumulated over maybe 50-60 years will be transferred to this. And I've seen one of the key areas that the Global Bio is working on is the skill enhancement or skill development. That is one of the areas where we wanted to partner. In fact, we are also partnering with a couple of Center for Excellences, where that is our core area, where we wanted to enhance the knowledge around the biospace. And we all know the pandemic has actually created such a big buzz around the bio. You see a lot of investments coming in. Many investors who were shying away to invest in biology because of the long gestation period, they're actually coming forward. So that's the space that we wanted to work on. And thanks for giving this, keeping in view the paucity of the time. I would go back to Nivedita and thanks for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, Raghavendra. Last but not least, Anil from Sanofi Genzyme.
Thank you, Nivedita. And I know we're running very short on time, so I wouldn't really take a lot of time. And since most of the topics have already been covered by all the panelists, I'd like to summarize in one short line that what you learned from the pandemic is that if there is a will, we'll always find a way. And I think that is what we have done, whether it is in making newer medicines, whether it is in making medicines available to the patients. I mean, that was a big learning that we had when in March, April, towards the end of March, and in April when the flight stopped, we have medicines in cold chain. So how do you make them available? So we found a way through which, in refrigerated vans originating from Mumbai, they would go all the way up north and deliver medicines along the way to different cities. Like you had milk delivery van. So you have to find a way. And I think from purely an innovation perspective, if we could bring out a vaccine in a space of just 9 months or 10 months, I think why can that not be made a practice going forward? That should be the biggest learning for us from the pandemic. How can we simplify the process so that innovation doesn't get delayed? It reaches the patient at the earliest. With this, I would like to stop. But thank you so much for your time. And it was a pleasure hearing the views of all the panelists. Big learnings for me from Sanofi Genzyme.
Thank you, Anil. Dr. Somani, Dr. Sharma, the floor is now yours. And thank you for your patience and the patient hearing you've given all of us today. We really appreciate that.
Dr. Somani would like to go first.
Yeah.
Sure, please go ahead, and I will make very brief comments and then we'll close the session. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you. First, because we heard Manjunath saying that since Nivedita said we have given a patient hearing, but we haven't given the proper patient registry. So that is one of the key message we should take from here. And also there are certain challenges which he has proposed during the innovation, the animal research. There are certain hurdles that also are very well taken note of, and already the animal husbandry department has taken a lot of steps, and we can further strengthen on that. Then Dr. Ram Mandalam was also saying because therapeutics already many products under the stem cell therapy or stem cell derived products have been approved for the therapeutics, and if there are other areas we are trying to promote this advanced therapeutic and medical products. And if you have any kind of suggestions for that, because this is a very gray area all over the world, and decision making becomes difficult with regards to the how much animal data is required, the trial space in this, and quality control of the raw material along with the entire processes. So we can work on that. That is and that is on the top of our mind. Which things to call as a product, which things to be left to the hospitals only, and which things to be considered in the part of the therapy which is approvable. So that are also we are working. One thing mentioned by Siva, that this DPAS rule, I don't have much of the knowledge about that. If you can explain what it is, then we can take it forward if at all it is in our domain. But we are quite open for that. And then that's what I have to contribute.
Thank you, Dr. Subhani. So very briefly, I would like to come here. So last year when pandemic started, everybody was seeing it as a challenge, but now I think we all agree that now it has, we all have realized that this was the opportunity for all of us, and the remarks in the second round made by Dr. Manjunath, Josna, Dr. Ram Mandal, Dr. Raghavendra and Dr. Anil were really very valuable recommendations for all of us, and we look forward to take these recommendations forward. I would like to very briefly mention about that what Josna said, very rightly said, that we all came together even in interministerial things, and now we know each other so well. Every day we are meeting through virtual meetings many times a day. So we all know what is happening, at what level it is happening, who is doing what. It's very easy for all of us to connect it through WhatsApp, through messages, email, virtual meetings. So it gives us really pleasure in the government system and also with the industry, the way we have worked with academia. So real partnership actually on the ground. Dr. Manjunath, I agree with all the comments, that recommendations you have given during this session. And here I would like to mention that government has really worked hard to put in place the National Biomedical Resource Indigenization Consortium to complete the pipeline for having end-to-end processes. The way you have described that these challenges were faced last year during lockdown, the raw materials and also the reagents and other small things which were missing in the pipeline. Now, I think through this consortium in coming years, we will be
Dr. Alka, we can't hear you.
Dharma, you've got muted.
I think the network.
Now, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know.
Yeah.
When you so NBRIC has been formed, and where more than 200 startups, innovators, small companies, large companies, they all have got registered with this NBRIC. So we are hoping that in coming years we will be able to complete the entire chain of product development, and we will be in a better position. The way actually Dr. Ram Mandal has said that Center of Excellence for Preventive Medicine and all, that is a need of the hour, and we are working in with the industries in a independent project. But it is a good idea to take this recommendation forward. And also Dr. Anil mentioned that what has to be done now, and that will really help all of us to go to the next level. So I think very valuable recommendations to this session, and with this I would like to stop here and would like to hear from Nivedita and anyone else who would like to make comments. Thank you. Over.
Thank you, Dr. Sharma. And I think one thing that's come out is we can definitely propose an ongoing dialogue with both of you. I think that will be very valuable. And what we will try to do at our end, Dr. Chitra Gupta is our leader for healthcare. We will try to put these recommendations together over the next 2 weeks and then reconvene in detail on some of the points which I think we can take forward and bring global best practices to you as well on that. But of course, I should end on the note that the spirit of collaboration should not end, obviously with this pandemic. And we really look forward to pursuing this and supporting you all in all the objectives that you have to make India's biopharmaceutical industry a much stronger one. So thank you again. Thank you all for your time. I thank all my industry colleagues for their participation. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Dr. Somani. Thank you, Dr. Sharma.
Thank you, Dr. Somani. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you for your valuable suggestions.